warm welcome to ZFS Rocks with me, it's Christian. And today we want to talk about Proxmox virtual environment, especially with the usage of ZFS or CFS, whatever you name it. I call it ZFS to make it easier for my show today. We are running this channel for about 5 years and did a lot of videos in German. We did 2 videos in English. They were very popular in the community. And we have another main channel that's sysops.tv in German, and we're doing 2 times a week a show about 2 hours. And we are running this live show for 2 years and the rest of the videos for about 12 years. My experience with ZFS is about 10 years or longer. And my experience with Proxmox in a highly productive environment is about 8 years. We have approximately 170 people talking in our specialists chat on metrics. And we're doing this for the plan for the next 10 years. So everything we are talking about today is from a long time experience, and we really make the most of a product that's already very good, but we are getting the most of it and we benefit the most of all features with Proxmox and its versatility and all the additional features from ZFS. If you never heard of Proxmox virtual environment, have a great look. We have a couple of videos running the software, and it's an equivalent from Hyper-V, or it's a little similar to vSphere from VMware, but the entire management is with less features than you are expecting it, and it has a small couple of features that's running perfect and is scaling on big environments. But if you're using it on a small environment, like we do, for example, it's 1 host or 2 hosts or 4 hosts, you can get much more out of it if you are modifying beyond the hood. And we experienced that in most of the open source based software, and this software is basically for free. You can use it with a community subscription, but you can also get professional support from the vendor. But if you are using it, it's very open. This means it's a Debian, and you can run any software on it, and you can modify whatever you want. And what exactly makes Proxmox that stable and easy to handle? Everything that's really important on Proxmox is running on the Linux kernel. This means you have a Debian 11 on this point, Bullseye, at the lowest level, and into the kernel you can find ZFS and KVM. This means everything that's running is running on the kernel. You don't need any software. One day I had to upgrade an older installation and had to remove all the Proxmox software from my system. In the meantime, the storage and the virtual machines were continuously running, no problem. There was no interruption. Then I just reinstalled the tools and everything was fine again. So everything's running on the kernel. This also means if you make an update, you have to reboot to get the new features on it. But this makes it very fast and reliable on this. When we are going with ZFS, we have a very big advantage. We can have any disk directly to the system. This means you can use any hardware that's capable to run your disk, and you have the full control of the health of your disks. This means you can verify the smart state. For example, the easiest and simplest way here in the Proxmox environment GUI, you can have a look how your disk is running and if there are any problems. But you also can use software like Zabbix or CheckMK to monitor your entire system. This means if you have many systems and have some spare systems, or one spare system, and one is failing at your customer or at your corporate, you can use an equivalent old computer, just insert the disks, boot from them, and continue working. That's very great. If you have a hardware RAID controller, you would not be possible to have a spare system, so you have to pay a lot of money to your vendor to get an extended warranty at this point. In earlier times, Perhaps you use the snapshot feature from VMware. And as you remember, you were able to make a snapshot including the memory, and you were trying to make your upgrade or any attempts to improve your solution. And when you are failing, or when you were failing, you were just able to roll back the snapshot. And this was very easy. But how about if you want to continue with your modifications? You have to convert your changes in the snapshot and bring it back to your original disk, and this was always with a big load on your system, and sometimes your system was getting full and crashed entirely, and you had some problems with backups in the meantime. And here on ZFS we have big advantages. For one thing, you can just do a snapshot. Means you can say, here I want to have a snapshot before update, and you can have a description on this and say take snapshot. And as you can see, this only took a second. If you want to roll back the snapshot, it also would take a second. If you have many snapshots and a complete line of snapshots, incremental snapshots, say to have a snapshot today and one tomorrow and one in 3 weeks, everything, you always can remove the snapshots without any interruption of your business. You can roll back your snapshots anytime. You can remove snapshots in the middle. It doesn't make any difference. It always takes only seconds because ZFS is working on vectors and not on a pile of bullshit that has to be pushed from the bottom to the top and from the top to the bottom and to include it. You are always at the end of a vector chain. So you're always at the end. You can dump all the vector chain behind you if you like to, but it does not take any recognizable amount of time or load on your system. And that's a really big advantage on ZFS. Watch our videos on ZFS Rocks about ZFS, and it's really incredible flexibility and speed of handling with snapshots. So if you are using snapshots, you were able to transfer the snapshot to another place. But what does it mean? It basically means that you have a state and you are moving the entire state to a second machine or to a second position. This would take the entire time to copy for the first time. From this time on, you can have another snapshot on the first side, and then you can make an incremental send between both snapshots to the second side. And that's exactly what Proxmox virtual environment will do for high availability. That's completely for free. For example, normally you can just go to your Proxmox cluster. This is also for free. You can have 2 machines like this here. They have PVE1, PVE2. And if they are, and surprise, they are not, but if they would be the same, so means almost the same space and CPU type, it doesn't have to match 100%, but you have to use the same storage names and so on. So for example, you want to make this SysOps Univention corporate server here high available, you need a kind of replication of your data. What you can do here, and you just can press add. You can say, okay, I have a replication job to my system so that the VM is 103. The system to send the snapshot to is the PVE2. There is a time frame you can choose, and then it's running the entire thing. And what it does, it only keeps 2 snapshots, always to have the difference between both states, incremental difference. If you have only 2, it's a difference, no incremental. And say we have A on the one side, A on the other side. Then comes a B state, and it's moving the B state to the other side, and so on. And then it's BC, CD on both sides. And you can do it forever because it's a vector chain, and you never need a full send again. What you can do here is you can also swap the machines. You can say you're running here, and I want to migrate you to the second system, and will take a couple of seconds or a minute to move over the memory, to move over the disk state, and then make it active on the other side and run on the other side and change the direction of replication. And you can have it also high availability, means if a system is failing, you can have a small of data lost. So it's that long, the time frame since last replication. And then you can run it automatically on the other system. This would be fine, for example, for telephone systems or firewalls. Perhaps web servers without a database would be a great thing to have. But this is not enough for us. And if you not only want a two-point replication on snapshot choice, you can perhaps roll back. So if you want to have a longer kind of backup, there's also a Proxmox backup server that does a very efficient, incremental, long-term backup of your system. You can restore files, and you have a huge, big selection of points. You did a backup, but you have to make one thing clear. If you need a backup, you need two things. The first thing is you need the time to restore. Then you need three things. You need the time to restore, you need the place to put it to, and you need a reliable information if this state you are restoring would be fine. So if there is not enough time, you will get trouble. If there's not enough space, perhaps you have to delete something that's not necessarily to be deleted. And all these things come with ZFS. So you can have rollbacks, and you can have, it's called clones. I will show you later. You can clone any state of a machine, and so you can boot it if you have a snapshot. Here you can see a typical standalone system with a backup server. So what does it mean? You have a couple of Linux containers. This is Linux on Linux, not a virtualization, and you have virtual machines. So those are not providing a hardware emulation, and those are emulating a hardware with drivers and optimizations and things like this. And you can see, if you have a backup, you have this as a couple of older backups. You have the 16th, the 20th, 27th. So this seemed to be done. He kept it once a week, and the closer you come, the more choice of days. Here's daily, for example. So if I want to get one of those backups, I can do two things. I can make a file restore, for example, and then it's providing me the disks, and I can have a look. This is not able to be mounted. So for one, no idea why it's not possible to open. Perhaps this is a boot sector or something like this. So the third partition is providing a normal Windows file system, and I can do a simple file restore of one or two files. This would be nice. The alternative would be to restore the entire thing, but the question is, where do I have to restore it to? Do I have the space? Do I have the time? And do I have to delete something before I restore it? And if, perhaps it's not the correct version, I have to repeat the entire thing. This is not a good thing. So how do we handle this better? So how to handle ZFS if you want to use all the benefit of ZFS? There are two ways. The first way is you use the command line interface. You connect via SSH, and you can use commands like ZFS list. And you will find every disk on every virtual machine you have here, you have a couple of outputs here. So you can see you have the Win machine. qmlist is the command for listing the VMs. You can see the Windows system, for example, here is the 101. So you can find it here. And what does those values mean? It means they are used 24.7 gigabytes. And with snapshots, they are in the same place on the vector chain. This is not a separate place for snapshots. It's not the disk and the snapshots. It's a vector chain, and the chain is getting smaller if you are destroying snapshots, and the value is getting bigger if you are using snapshots, for example. This means 24/7, it's the size of the efficient data, and with all snapshots together, it's 79, and if you subtract the 24/7 from this, you have the value what's used for snapshotting. So how can we get an overview for our snapshots? You can say ZFS list minus type snapshot, or you can use ZFS get the written command, and it's great. You can see how much space is used for each version. You can grab the disk. So this will put out every written metadata on any snapshot, and we filter it with a grep to this particular disk. Let's have a look. So here we go. And you can see there are many snapshots, a lot of snapshot names, and a huge selection of snapshot you have. You can see here monthly snapshots. Today we have the end of May 2022, so there are some monthly from March, from April, weekly from May, and you have here monthly from May, and so on. Then you have a lot of backup called, this is auto snapshots. You have backup snapshots. Those are used for replicating, to continue the replication. For this purpose, there would be only 2 or 1 snapshot be fine to continue, but to be safe on a rollback, we are doing more than 1 snapshot to continue snapshotting, to continue replication, even if you have to roll back a system to keep up the replication chain. If you, yes, you can see those backups here. You can see more auto snapshot daily, more backup here, and you can see the hourlies here, the backups here, and so on. So this is a lot of selection. So what can we do with those? With any of these snapshots, we can do the following. We can have, we can roll back to a specific point and lose the data after it. We can clone any of those points and boot the system to an older state. And we can replicate those things and much more. The great thing is it doesn't take any time, and that's what I will show you. But if you don't like the command line, you can also use a thing we are providing. So this is your GUI, here's your Windows machine. This is not production, so I can play with it. So this is Cockpit. It's a small GUI for Linux systems, for disks and log files and things like this, and accounts and network settings. It's not very nice, but there is a special ZFS plugin that's not been developed the last years because the program has gone, but this is complete. And what you have here is a great benefit for ZFS. And if you remember that Proxmox is using ZFS and does not provide any extra features, this would be a perfect match for administrating Proxmox with ZFS. For example, on this small system, you have the R pool, this is the system pool, and then you have 2 mirrors with a Kingston disk, another Kingston disk as a mirror. Here's another mirror, the second mirror counted from 0, and this means we have a RAID 10 here. You can also have a look at the command line with zpool status, and you can see the system is fine, there are no errors. Here's the one disk, here's the other disk, here's the second mirror, and everything is fine. And as far you can see, this is on the third partition. This means this those 4 disks are also bootable. That will be important for further investigations. You have to note that the Cockpit GUI does not know anything from Proxmox, and Proxmox does not anything from this GUI. But nobody is denying to. Nobody says you mustn't use it, and I encourage you to use it, but you have to know how to use it. This is 2 systems not knowing from each other. But you can have a big benefit from it, because what you have else is here, you also have a list of snapshots. And for example, if you can see, this is here the Windows machine. And this has what disks? There's a big disk and a small disk. The small disk is for AFI settings, and the big disk is our system. And if you have a look, the name is 101 disk 0, and you can find it here. 101 disk 0, where is it? Here is it. And then you have all the snapshots and the latest. So today we have the 28th of May, and we have 1540 in German time. This means this is the oldest snapshot here, and then you can go down there. And then you will find the latest frequent automatically created snapshot. And then you have a selection of cloning the snapshot, renaming the snapshot, rolling back the snapshot, or even destroying the snapshot. And let's have a look how efficient this would be. You have seen the last episode of ZFSrocks when we showed our Zamba file server, and this particular customer is using the Zamba file server. So this is the Zamba file server, there's a share, there's a folder called templates. So, and if this is anything you want to if there's anything you want to restore, you have a problem or want to know how about an older version, you can say show recent versions. This is in German. And then you also have those snapshot we have seen, this big snapshot selection. You can have a big choice from the latest here on today in 15 minutes. This is the hourly, this is every 15 minutes. And you can go at the oldest one at the beginning of the year, 1st of March. Here's the oldest snapshot, and I can go to the folder and have access to anything. But how about virtual machines? Virtual machines are not files. Virtual machines are systems changing their bytes all the time, 100 gigs, 50 gigs, 1 terabyte, whatever. Let's have a simple test on it. What we will do is I will have the network. Let's have a small view at the control panel. This is a little hard with the resolution here. What can we do? We have the come on. Let's do a Trojan. So we try to be a Trojan. So this means the system will be compromised and you have some encrypted files or bullshit on the system you want to get rid of. Let me try the big resolution. I will simulate that with a simple file. This should be bullshit from a Trojan. Just copy that a couple of times. Let's see if we can have this copied here. The problem is I can't scroll. Here they are. Here they are. So we'll have a lot of bullshit on the screen, and this should be the Trojans work. And what we do next, we have some modification on the system. For example, we disable the network interface to crash this Windows system. So we are disabling the network interface. So imagine there is a big Trojan attack on your system and everything is not working because you are not able to access your system anymore and you have a backup. So what you can do is to estimate when has the Trojan started, and then you just can try to restore the system, but perhaps it's still compromised. Then you have to delete it again. You have to restore it many times. We don't have those problems. There are two ways to handle this, and I will show you. The easiest would be just to roll the system back because it doesn't take any time. But how I can be clear if the system rollback is the correct time and date, let's find out. So the easiest would be, we remember, just to stop the machine and roll back the snapshot. But I'm not sure if this is working. Here is the rollback button on this automatically created snapshot, and this is 20 minutes ago. There would be another snapshot in the meantime from 45, but let's see if this snapshot would be fine. So I just can copy that. And what I can do now is I can clone the snapshot here. I do it not often on the GUI. Hopefully I do it correct. Let's have a look. Clone snapshot. And the parent file system would be the rpool data. And then we call it VM101 disk 9, because disk 9 to me is always the snapshot, the clone the clone of a snapshot. So let's try if it's working. No, this did not work. For some reason, the clone in the GUI did not work, and I don't want to care about it because it's even easy on the system. You can say ZFS clone. You have, this is the pool, this is organization, value data, and this is VM 101, disk 0. That's the one we're going to clone. And then you have the snapshot 1330. This is we have daylight saving here. And then I say it should be targeted to the same disk here. And you have the disk 9. So this means we make the snapshot to a disk 9, and this is of this date. So let's have a look. We are listing it, and now we have a disk 9 here, and this is the old version. And if I want to know how old it is, I say ZFS get origin, and I see this is from this date. Let's have a look at our graphical user interface. This is, should be listed here in the file systems as looking for disk 9, and should find a disk 9. Let's refresh this thing. Disk 9, where it is, 101, disk 9. And as you can see, it has the clone file system button here. And this means it only takes 8 kilobytes to be existent, and I can read, write this disk. So the next thing is, if I'm looking to run this disk, I can say stop here, stop the machine, have a look to my local ZFS store, if it's present. Yes, here it is. And as you can see, it's the same size like this. And now we come to the next problem. This Proxmox system has a very limited amount of functions. So I'm not able to add a hard disk that existing in storage. I can say local ZFS, but there's no possibility to select an existing disk. And what I have to do is just to simply modify the file. And you can do it with a FTP program, or you can do it with a command line. It's not very hard. You just have to know where the files are. It's etc, pve. Then it's, when you have a cluster or many systems, it's nodes, the name of the machine, and then the technology. This is QEMU server, and then it's the 101, so configuration file. And as you can see here, it's a very simple file, and you can have a look at disk, and you can see here's the disk 9. Here's the disk 0, and I also have a disk 9, so I just type in the 9 here, and going to validate my changes. Here's the disk 9 now. It's reloading itself automatically, and now I can start this machine and verify if my problem would be solved. And the disk 0 is still present, so this means this is non-destructive. I can have a look. I can verify all my changes. So would this state be fine after attack of a Trojan or not? Let's have a look. Logging in. This is all in real time. Log in. So we remember the last time it was the network was stopped and the desktop was full with bullshit. So sorry about the login delay. There are some policies running in the background at this customer. And you can see we have no bullshit anymore on the screen, and we have the internet connection back. Just going away to, so just go to avm.de for example, and have a look if we are online. And as you can see, we are pretty online, and this decision would solve our problem. So what does it mean at the end? I will stop the system, and there are two ways what I can do now. I can say, I can list it again. So as you can see, we changed by booting 700 megabytes. And what I can do now, I can promote this one here. This means this would be the productive now, and this would be the clone then. But at this point, I'm happy with the decision, and I say, okay, I'm editing my file again back to disk 0. I decide to go ahead with the disk 0. Then I can destroy the clone, what also doesn't take any time. And then I say ZFS list written the disk 0. And as we remember, this one was fine. So I can roll it back. Let's try this in the GUI again. So let's have a look at the snapshots list. The snapshots list, and this will be the 101 disk 0. 101 disk 0. Go to the snapshot list. 101 disk 0. Go to the very end. Was it disk 0 or disk 1? It was disk 0. Go to the very end of the large, look at this, how many choices you have to boot something or to test off without any delay. Yeah, this is the correct one, and I can say rollback snapshot. And there's one newer snapshot, and for this reason, let's have a look. I stopped the machine. That's important. Destroy all newer snapshots. That's the one I'm choosing here. As I roll back, there should be a green confirmation, and if it's done, I can start my Windows VM, and I'm fine on this. So this is great, because if you have a large number of attempts to find out what the best version is to restore or to roll back, you can modify your machine, you can make a clone, boot it, check it, stop it. Cloning another version, here we are back again, cloning another version, booting, stopping, and so on. And it will take you 10 minutes, 15 minutes to try 4 or 5 versions, and then you can decide to even either roll back, or you can clone it and keep the, perhaps you want to keep the suspicious content to verify. And what we do with the suspicious content, we are checking it for viruses, and if it does not find a virus, we're waiting for a week, updating the antivirus software, checking again, finding a virus, and then we are verifying if this virus is on the is not available or present at the productive side. And we don't have any time for restoring or providing the necessary environment. So let's have a small look at the efficiency again of the snapshotting. This list of the automated snapshots for this machine. And you can see we have the monthly. So for 1 month difference, you need 11. So this is the base, this is the starting here from the vector chain. This means this is 1 month taking 11 gigabytes for the difference. So between 2 weeks, you have about 2 or 5 gigabytes to keep the difference on this Windows machine between 2 weeks. 1 day costs you 1 gigabyte, and 1 hour, if there's nothing is running, it's 30 megabytes. And as you can see, the system is running for more than a year. And we said, obviously, we are keeping 3 months of snapshots, longer snapshots or longer restore possibilities, challenges we do with the Proxmox backup server, and trying to keep a longer time frame and just have the automatic snapshots configured the following way. Let's have a look. You can filter it. It says ZFS list -t type snapshot. We are filtering this particular disk. We are looking for a backup snapshot. That's what I told you. It's just about necessary to have 2 for more reasons. I'm using 96 here, and then you can have a look what we are keeping here. For example, here the monthly part, we are keeping 3 months. Then we have the weekly part. 4 weeks, and we have a daily part, and we have 10. And just to have a look, if you would filter it, you can destroy 1 day and it wouldn't make any difference. It would save you a little of space, but removing in the middle a snapshot is going very fast, and it's just moving the vector change between the 1 day, the other day, and the one you are pulling out here. And we have, how many hours do we have here to have a look? We have hourly snapshots here, and those are 48. And we have frequent snapshots handled every 15 minutes, 8. So this could be one selection. Your mileage may vary here. So how do we get those automatic snapshots? This would be very simple. You can say apt install ZFS auto snapshot. This will do the trick, and what it does is, you can say it's already installed, and what we have is the cron manager has a couple of folders here. This is cron hourly, for example, and if you have a look, there is a ZFS auto snapshot script here, and you can see it says keep 48. So obviously this folder is handled and processed once an hour. If you have to keep 48 hours, this is the last 2 days. You have a selection of an hourly, rollback, restore, whatever. The daily 10, you have a choice of 10 days, and it's done in the morning. Here's the times, by the way. You can find the times here. It's the cron tab, and this says exactly this is running on 6:25 for the daily. The weekly is on 6:47. The monthly is running on 6:52, and the hourlies are running 70 minutes after the full hour. So what do we have else, and how do we get the most of a fresh Proxmox installation? So in this episode we want to focus on snapshotting and rolling back. So what can we do? We can restore or roll back a snapshot. We can do a file restore out of a snapshot. So this means you can also, if you have a disk, you can clone the disk, you can mount the disk and get files of a clone out. You can boot it, as you can see. You can analyze it. You can promote a snapshot, means if you tried to clone a system and this is great, you can promote it. This means this will be the productive one, and there's no waiting time. For the next episodes, we will show you how to replicate, how to monitor replication, how to boot a replication. So just to get an idea what's coming up. This is my productive system in the, we call it Rechenzentrum. This is my productive in the DRRZ Rechenzentrum in Darmstadt. And you have the sysops UCS, the Univention system. So this is on PVE1. If this system would go down forever, I can have a look at UCS sysops. On the second system, on the PVE2, you can see there is a replication, sysops UCS. And if you have a closer look, you can see the network interface is disabled. And there is another data store, it's called ZFS replication. And it's not starting automatically. And by the way, it has the name that I can see it's a replication. So if I just want to know if my replication is working, or my customer want to know it, I just can go here on start and can have a look if it's booting or not, and can log in, can make some tests, whatever. I can just simply boot this system. I can see this is booting great, and this is a new, fresh replication of my system, and we all have this in our great monitoring. I will show you in one of the future episodes. The perfect and best prepared Proxmox system in the world, even for clusters or standalone systems. Have a look here. You can go to github.com, and our small group is called the Bash Club. Nobody talks about the Bash Club. And here are all the projects. And you can have a look at the Proxmox ZFS post-install. And it's really easy to install. you just download it. So you go to the command line. For example, you can go here. If you don't have a terminal program, you can go here. And then you can copy this line. This is downloading the post installer, and you can just run it. And what does it do? It's disabling the enterprise repository if you want to try it or be self-responsive for your system. Take responsibility for your system. Upgrade the system to the latest version. It's installing a couple of tools. Maybe you need them one day on a disk recovery, or if you have some investigation, no network connectivity, it would be fine to have the tools already on the system. We are optimizing the cache, the ZFS cache, so means there is memory for virtual machines, but there's also a lot of memory needed for ZFS, and we say about 1 gigabyte for 1 terabyte data. There is the snapshot retention from ZFS Auto Snapshot. This means the installer is asking you how many months do you want to have, how many days, hours, and so on. But keep in mind, you have to take care the system's not running above 80% of usage. Then it will get very slow, and then you have to delete snapshots. The automatic installation helps you making a backup of the etc folder. This has the reason if you are booting from a disk and mounting the ZFS pool, all the Proxmox settings are not there because they are created on a database, by a database on live, in a live situation, so it's not there. But if you have a backup done, you have all settings to set up a fresh Proxmox server and just copy in 5 or 6 files and everything's fine again. Yes, you have about memory swappiness, check-and-k agent if you like to, and yeah, this is some software for advanced features. This is very great, and I want to recommend you this script. Do it always on a fresh install if you don't are using the high availability and the built-in replication. So this is perfect for standalone systems with yeah. This will cover your ass. Means if you have a problem or if you do a mail function or a Trojan, you always are able to restore on a very close snapshot at this point. So at second, if you're already there, you can have a look at a second script. This is the Cockpit Cfs Manager, and you just simply download this the way we did it here and just running the same way, and then you can connect to port 9090 of your Proxmox server and have all this ZFS control on a web GUI. Great. So if you want to keep in touch with us, in the show notes you can find a matrix link. This is an invitation to our channel, English-speaking channel. We are at the beginning. At the German-speaking channel, we are 170 great people talking each other, helping each other. There is no riot, no violence. It's always a great place to be and helps a lot. If you are interested in the German channel for invitation, it's no problem. Just let me know. I will send you a link to there. We will go ahead in English. We will show our finalized solutions from the Bash Club and from my large experience about open source software from the last 12 years. We are almost complete with a set of software we have. Just to let you know, we are partner of Univention Corporate Server, Great Domain Controller, Copano, Great Exchange Replacement. We are Proxmox Silver Partner. We are partner from Thomas Krenn Servers. We are partner from Server Shop 24 and many more. We have great connections in the open source scene and doing a very serious business here. And if you have a closer look, there is a lot of great software coming from Germany or German-speaking countries like those mentioned. There's also Nextcloud and check-and-k and so many more. And yeah, I want to ask you to join us here and participate from this great community. And I want to link those two worlds, and that's the reason I'm coming here on Saturday, on a nice day, and doing those videos. If you like my videos, press thumb up and perhaps some nice words in the descriptions in the comments, and yeah, we'll see you. We will see us again in the middle or end of June, hopefully, with all the replication stuff and the tools we are using here. We have great replication scripts modified, we have great monitoring tools, and so much more. Be curious. We will see you again on SysOps TV, Vloggers Logic. Goodbye.